Welcome, everyone, to the official debate section.
This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic.
Let's get it started in here.
And here we are. Welcome to the 84th episode of Incendiary. Yes, I went back on the page and counted them to find out what episode we were on. I want to say hey to Jake and Peter. Thanks for being back, guys. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
And welcome to our special guest this week, Ashley Land from across the pond. I just learned that the poor guy is up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be on our show. So a big kudos and thank you so much for being here.
So we got to make this one count. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's right. Let's be mindful of his time. We don't have comments yet, but we look forward to seeing some folks join us in the chat. And those of you who watch on the replay, we thank you and we ask you to please hit like and subscribe to the channel. More subscribers is always a good thing. We are here to talk about our debate today. It might be more of a discussion than a debate, but we'll see what side Ashley lands on. We're talking about maladaptive daydreaming. Is that a good thing, a sign of a creative mind, or can that be harmful? Done a little bit of research on that myself, but we can just talk about it as in generalities. So what we do, Ashley, is we start out with our guest and ask, which side of the debate do you want to be on? Do you want to say that just is a function of a creative mind, or do you want to say that, yeah, you probably shouldn't get absorbed in those very much?
I got a question real quick before we get started. Sorry, Ashley. What is maladaptive daydreaming?
So daydreaming, obviously, you can set up any scenario you want, but they call it maladaptive. Those people who think it's harmful, maladaptive means that you are adapting to your situation by escaping reality far too often. That's why they call it maladaptive.
So it's like porn addiction.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean,
you can get lost in that too, and escape reality.
Yeah, I can't say that people who have maladaptive daydreaming don't involve that kind of a scenario, but typically it's more like, boy, if I had like the one cartoon that was in the intro, if I had Iron Man's armor or the ability to create such a thing, what would I do next? That kind of thing. And some people get involved in maladaptive daydreaming because they spend so much time doing that, they withdraw from relationships and their work product suffers. However, it's also the sign of somebody who's super creative. So that's why we're asking Ashley, and he'll pick somebody. Oh, I don't want to steal Jake's thunder. Let's just start out with, which side of the debate does Ashley want to be on?
Oh man, it's a tough call because I found myself, I found it coming in handy when coming up with stories, but I've especially recently started to find myself getting really distracted by it. So I'm gonna say it's good, but it has its drawbacks.
So we've got to pick one side or the other. We're going to put you on the side of it's a good thing. So I'm going to put you over here. And Jake, what does he do now?
All right, Ashley, now that you have chosen that you are on the side of a maladaptive daydreaming, or at the very least, we put you in that position, who would you like to argue that side with you? Would you like myself, or would you like Peter? Because Dojo's going to play devil's advocate and kind of mediate the whole thing.
I'll take Peter.
Right.
Yeah. Woo! We got this. We got this, Ashley. We're going to win this debate.
All right.
I always win.
Oh, here we go. I get to be the asshole again.
Well, that'll be nice. That I'm not the asshole this time.
It's a good change of pace, right? Wink, wink.
All right. So actually, let's start with,
if you want to fight, we can take it outside.
And one thing that we had to do this based on some people's reaction. Again, these debates are meant to be in fun. So for those of you who try to take it seriously, please read this. Okay, now that that's covered, Ashley, we're going to start with you. Please describe for us why you think that daydreaming, not necessarily maladaptive, but daydreaming can help and shows the sign of a creative mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're otherwise having a good time, you're probably not going to be daydreaming. So if it's a choice between, boredom or keeping yourself entertained by coming up with stories and that kind of thing, I think it's probably better for your mind and for your kind of creative muscles to come up with new ideas rather than just stewing in boredom or finding otherwise unproductive things to do, like doom scrolling through Reddit or something.
Good point.
And it's election season over here, so there's a lot of that going on.
Indeed. A lot of people hate scrolling. And, we just had a Lake Association meeting today, and we say the Pledge of Allegiance beforehand. And what's interesting is toward the end of our Pledge of Allegiance, we say one nation under God, indivisible. And for some reason that stood out to me today. I'm like, boy, I wish it were true that we were indivisible, but I've seen nothing but divide over the course of the last few years. And it's unfortunate. We've got people on the extremes, and it makes it appear as though that's all there are the two extremes. Well, when personally I know a lot of folks who are more in the middle of the road than, for one side or the other. And everybody's got I think, there's pros and cons to everyone's opinion. But election season over here, doom scrolling on Reddit or Twitter or even Facebook still for some of us.
Like working at a school, we do the Pledge of Allegiance every day. And of course, kids, they don't want to get up and pledge allegiance. So I try to get real animated. And I emphasize the end. It's liberty and justice for all. And I point at everybody, it's for all, liberty and justice. Indivisible, we're still here, but liberty and justice for all. This is flag. This Pledge of Allegiance is for everyone, and I try to focus on that. When it comes to scrolling, 5 swipes. I'll scroll, swipe 5 times. If I don't see anything that's interesting, I'm done. I'll just turn the app off.
You're out, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so Jake, let's turn it over to you then. Ashley gave his opinion as to why daydreaming might be helpful or creative. Tell us why you think it's possible that it's maladaptive.
Well, let's see. So I went to Healthline to check out what the symptoms are, what you would go through with your maladaptive daydreaming. And extreme vivid daydreams of your own character, setting plots, other details, story-like features reflecting complex inner world, blah, blah, blah. Difficulty sleeping at night, performing repetitive movements while daydreaming, whispering and talking to yourself while daydreaming, yada, yada, yada. To me, I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. It's very much basically the way of the introvert is the way I would see it. I mean, you recluse to your creative corner and, you're either invested in video gaming and you decide to dive into those worlds, and that can be hit or miss depending on if you're playing single player or if you're co-oping with people online. That can be productive. That can technically help with social skills and whatnot. But at the same time, you are just living a fake life instead of going out and living your own life. And to me, that can be a little damaging to an individual.
Wasn't there a game called Second Life where people set up their home and they had an avatar?
It was like an online virtual reality thing, right?
Yeah, we call it Sims now.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
So I think it was a few years back. I think it was popular. It was a really like a 15 minutes of fame thing. It was popular for a little while. And then I think what happened, to Jake's point, is people realized I'm spending way too much time in this fake world and I'm not even meeting real people.
Or they're all like 50-year-old, 50-year-old, like grotesque men. Like
Hey.
Like the creeps, you know what I'm talking. The creeps are what I'm talking about. The ones that go.
Yeah, the ones that keep the waffles and sausages right next to them with the syrup in the other hand while they're watching or playing the game. I get you. I know who you're
Yeah,
talking about.
the ones that are on Roblox right now.
Yeah.
Oh, what's Roblox?
That's I don't know, some game the kids these days. That and Fortnite. But Roblox is the one you got to worry about, like big time. I don't know. Those creepers go on there. It's like Minecraft, I guess.
Okay.
But or Fortnite or something. It's just a game where everybody gets online, they talk and they hang out and they do the challenges of the game. But you can have your avatar, your character built up, and even to a degree, well, there's not a lot of voice chat. It's all typing, so you could say that you're like one of them. You know what I mean? It's where creeps go. I've taught my kids to like suss those guys out and not be, internet friends aren't real friends.
Ouch. That hurts, Peter.
They're not real people. I've talked to y'all. I've seen your faces.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But like typing and shit, you don't know who you're typing. It's like me when I was when the internet first came out. I'd go into the VervePipe chat room. I didn't even know what the VervePipe was back then. And I would just troll everybody. I was just a troll. It was fun because, no repercussions.
No, you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember those good old AOL.com days.
The dial-up.
It was really weird.
Yeah, those are the days. Now we got, virtual realities to do that. Those fun and these online games to do all the fun shenanigans.
So, Jake harkened back to AOL. Dudes, I'm old enough to harken back to something called a bulletin board system, where it looked like you were typing in like Fortran or something, or you just had a black screen with the green letters.
Yeah, I had one of those. Played what's that? Oregon Trail.
Yep, Oregon
with
Trail.
Like 9 floppies.
Castle Falkenstein, I think it was.
Wolfenstein,
yes.
Yeah. My life. Yeah, that was a fun game.
A lot of this is like ancient history to me.
Yeah, it is. It is. You're talking to at least one boomer, if not a couple.
Yeah, like 12 floppy disks to get a game going.
Right. That was crazy.
I think I had a screensaver that had like 9 floppy disks. It was like a Star Trek screensaver.
Oh, okay. So, Ashley, let's bring it back around to you. We'll get to you in just a second, Peter. Ashley, I wanted to ask, do you have any examples of where a daydream has turned into a storyline or something you've used in, like Argonaut, in the Unbreakable Argonauts?
I do actually, because a lot of my stuff actually, I kind of brainstormed it around the first weeks of COVID. And so, sitting around the house and there's not a lot to do beyond, talk to people online and watch movies and, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And, I like a lot of people, I wanted to write comics for a while. And, now suddenly everyone's got all this free time. And so if you've got any kind of creative, ambition, now's the time. And I just found myself very, like a lot of people, very bored and in the, because you kind of think to yourself, now I have time to talk to my friends and everything, but obviously everyone's schedules kind of differ, and so you get a lot of time in the early lockdown days where you're just by yourself. And I spent a lot of that time just brainstorming ideas and coming up with, the stories that I wished I had written. And just as time went on, brainstormed that into actual coherent stories and kept it going. I think it's like, I think daydreaming is kind of like a exercise, maybe not quite the same, but, if you go to the gym, that's pretty good. If you spend all your time in the gym, that's, antisocial and unhealthy. So, you just got to kind of moderate yourself.
So daydreaming is like exercising the creative muscle.
Yeah.
And I think that your story is pretty common, that a lot of us sort of ramped up our creative writing during the COVID time, the years. It was in 2020 that I found the indie comics online crowdfunding and things like that. And it's largely because I was posting at the time on Facebook a lot of my characters, and somebody said, "Hey, you should check out this community." And I'm really grateful that they did, because not only has that improved my comic sales, but also met a lot of great people, and it's I also learned a lot from those people as well. I want to say, hey, one of those people, as a matter of fact, is in the chat. We've got Edwin Acevedo here.
Edwin, what's going on,
of
man?
The Ace, Volume 3. Thanks for being here, Edwin. Appreciate you. So, Pete, let's give you a chance now.
Yeah, man. Well, Comicsgate was definitely an awesome group that I found, I guess around the same time, 2019, 2020.
Uh-huh.
And man, it just got all the creative juices going. The community is awesome. I just love it. Comicsgate rocks. So when it comes to this daydreaming thing, I believe it or not, I have like social anxiety like crazy. Like I have a problem to like crippling anxiety with social. I actually use that muscle, I guess you could say, that creative daydreaming, and just kind of made it, that awkwardness, just part of my persona, and it made life a little bit easier for me. Daydreaming to the point where I'm almost like living in a dream all the time. I'm constantly daydreaming, I'm constantly drawing, I'm always thinking about stuff. And yes, it makes it awkward, and but it does kind of help break the ice if I just own it and just roll with it. And man, it's actually helped me out a lot the more I just lean into that muscle, the daydreaming muscle, and just kind of people are intrigued by it. They're like, what is going on with this person? I've gotten a lot more confident having discovered this, so I just love, I think it not only helps me with the stories and everything, because I'm coming up with some stories myself, but thinking about how to draw, just, I draw every single day. I'll just kind of look at something like a pencil or a spoon and be like, or a cheeseburger or a bottle of soda, and just go, what could that be? And just let my mind roll with it. And then, working at a school, it helps because kids are also pretty imaginative, and they're like, well, how do you draw so good, or what do you come up with these ideas? I'm just like, man, I don't know, look around you. Like we're all surrounded by stuff, and that can all be anything you want, and just don't be afraid to kind of just check what would a pen's personality be. It's all when you embrace that daydreaming aspect, and just kind of, it's not like you're lost. You can actually still live in a world like that. It's actually a lot of fun, man. It makes life a lot more fun, and doom scrolling becomes a lot less interesting. It gives purpose. And I think it's one of the best things. And I don't know what the evolutionary value is, other than, I don't know, you get creative. Like, all the traits are evolutionary. There's a reason we have emotions, a reason we have everything. Why would we have daydreaming and, well, I don't even know, like creativity, other than to progress our species and survive. It is a tool, and if used correctly, we can do anything. And that's another cool thing about comic books.
It's interesting about the human mind is we are one of the very few species who produces art. And I didn't just say the only one, because there's actually a couple examples in the animal kingdom. There's a fish, for example, that spends almost its entire day creating a pattern in the sand to attract a mate, which when you look at the pattern from above, right? Yeah, when you look at the pattern from above, you're like, how did it have the intellect to make that pattern exact on both sides of the picture it was drawing? It's like, that is amazing that fish can do that sort of thing. But back to your idea of the creative mind, one of the reasons I looked up maladaptive daydreaming is because, like Peter, I was involved in doing that with these daydreams quite a bit. I'll get out there and be vulnerable like Peter and say that I was wondering, is that a problem? Should I be worried that I'm retreating to that too often? And I also remember when my kids were growing up, both of them used to say, when I'd see one of them like talking to themselves, and not intrusive, what are you doing? But I'd be asking, hey, what's going on? They'd say, I'm playing in my head. And what they meant was, of course, they were playing out a scene where either they were the hero or the tragic, victim or whatever. But they would always say that they were daydreaming, and I don't know if that's something they learned from me subconsciously or what. But yeah, I think that to a certain extent, it is very helpful with a creative mind. That's why I think I've been making comics for as long as I have. But that is, of course, a result of having read them for close to 50 years too. So, I've seen so many creative minds putting together the medium of comics and movies and superheroes in particular, that I think that, it has helped. But to Jake's point, or to the side of, can it be harmful? I was wondering, and that's why I looked it up. Is that something I retreat to too often? Because, despite the fact that I've been a singer and an actor and I do this podcast and all that, like Peter, I also can be pretty shy, and meeting new people is a difficult thing. So I'm sort of out of my comfort zone doing this kind of a show, talking to new guests and creators and things like that. It's been rewarding. So, it's great to have Ashley on, for example, to meet somebody who's creating yet another group of comics. He's got, not only does he have the storefront for Unbreakable Argonauts, which we'll be looking at in a moment. He's got that on FundMyComic, that great site by Luke Stone. But he's also got an Indiegogo going on right now called Santa's Nuclear Winter Special. So we're going to be taking a look at those two. Before we do, though, somebody reminded me recently that I really ought to take the time on my show to push my own a little bit. So I'm going to play a trailer. Let me... whoops, that's not the right button, Brian. Let's try this. Sorry, a couple buttons here to press and go here. All right, let's put this up and let's play this trailer real quick before we get into those campaigns.
Dojo Kun Chronicles is a 100-page compilation of origin stories for 13 different superheroes from Dojo Kun Comics. Bot 42, Lone Shark, Wisecracker, Sparrow, and many more. Many creative talents came together to chronicle these stories, including main cover artist Eric Nieltowski, with colorist Matt Yackey, the XX chromosome cover by artist Stefani Renee, and colorist Chris Leithwood, and the XY chromosome cover by artist Elliot Rodriguez, also colored by Chris. Deanna, Hammer of the Angels, #1 will also be available, with catch-up tiers to get Siamese and Projectile Reptile. Help make it happen for Dojo Kun Comics.
Is that an AI,
So,
or did you
for a second
get somebody
there,
to
Ashley,
do that?
wanted to point out. Oh, I hired somebody from Fiverr.
Oh, that's cool. That's a
he
good
is
voice.
The first guy who used to do In a World. I think he passed, and the guy who did my voiceover now does those narratives.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's got I think he's got 40,000 voiceover, testimonials on his.
Huh.
Yeah, he's really good. He also did my voiceover for, not Siamese, because that was one of the indie creators, but he did the voiceover for the Healing Wars, the Shifter. So he's a return voiceover artist for me. So the sign up page is live now for Dojo Kun Chronicles. If you sign up and then later back, you'll get a free trading card of Deanna Hammer of the Angels drawn by Dan Dahl. So looking forward to getting a lot of people signed up. The launch is the 25th of this month. It's a Friday on Michael Bancroft's show. With campaigns in mind, though, let's go to the storefront that we are talking about tonight, which is on FundMyComic. It's Ashley's storefront for the Unbreakable Argonauts. And I'm almost there. Bam. So, Ashley, what I'm going to do is I'll drive But you tell me what you'd like to highlight or look at on this storefront page.
Yeah, so I'll just start out by explaining the comic and the story. So when I go into comics, like virtually everyone, I just gravitated towards Batman and that kind of thing. And the more I got into comics, the more I started to discover like the like the old pulps and the Golden Age superheroes. And absolutely fell in love with things like the Justice Society of America and like the Shadow and everything like that. And as I was kind of looking through the history of comics, I noticed that there wasn't a it's like people who know comic book history, the 50s is kind of like a blank, not exactly a blank slate, but superheroes kind of get pushed to the side, and other genres start to creep back in. So you get more like war comics, science fiction, detectives, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And the thinking behind this was sort of like if a superhero team was formed during the 1950s, because you get the Justice Society in the 40s, you get the Justice League in the 60s, and so what would a team of heroes in that kind of vein look like if it had been assembled in the 1950s? And so it kind of pulls together different genres of heroes. So you've got like your classic superhero at the back. You've got a like a Rocketeer kind of adventure hero. You've got the soldier hero, and you've got this kind of horror themed ghost hero and all that kind of thing. And I just wanted to kind of explore how these different types of heroes would work on their own team. And so the Unbreakable Argonauts is set in Icarus City, which is of all the kind of superhero cities, it's probably closest to Metropolis, but not quite. And the first story is when you read it, it's a little bit like Giant Size X-Men, the Len Wein issue, where it's you're getting thrust into this rescue mission. So the first story arc is 2 issues. This is issue 1, and it's basically, it introduces you to the characters. You get to see everyone in action, and then it leads up to the event that sparks the rescue mission, which you're going to see in issue 2.
Okay, so you start out with action by putting us right into meeting the characters as they display their powers, or are we introduced to them as they meet one another?
You're introduced to them in, I would say, my thinking is around year 2 of their team up.
Okay.
So they're pretty close by this point, but they're not like older. They don't have the same kind of history as the Justice League, so this is still their early days as a team. And this is issue 1 is the first time that all of their kind of signature villains form a team up. So it's sort of like an origin story for their Legion of Doom, if you want to think about it that way.
Hey, Dojo, scroll down a little bit. Who's the artist for this?
The cover's by Yannick the Cat, who a lot of people might know as he did Wonder Woman Earth 1 with Grant Morrison. And
that's some solid work.
Yeah. And then the interiors are done by Daniel Max.
If I scroll down, will I be able to see some of the interior? Oh, yeah, right here.
Nice. His artwork's pretty slick, man. I like this.
I think it's pretty perfect for the time period that I wanted to set in. I was because I saw Daniel's work as I was looking through different portfolios, and I think a lot of creators, a lot of first-time creators, kind of overestimate the amount that it costs to make a comic. And so I saw Daniel's work, and I was like, "There's no way I can afford this guy." And then he gets in touch, and he sends me his portfolio and everything, and he has a very affordable price point.
Oh,
and
good.
We started talking to each other, and just perfectly on point, and he completely, understood the idea behind it, and I think did a really fantastic job.
One thing about his art that I can compliment for sure is his attention to detail when detail is needed, like this scene right here where they're on the wing of this plane, and the detail of the buildings behind, the trees down here. And then in some of the panels, like this one here, with the person holding the gun and the other guy with like the Rocketeer rockets, it's not a very detailed panel, but that's because it doesn't need to be. And,
Right.
I think that he does the right thing in providing detail when needed, and skipping it when it's more important to see what the characters are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. He's I think pretty good at, I mean, as you can see, pretty good at action sequences as well.
Right.
So who are these characters?
Yeah, I can walk you through them. If you want to go up to the cover, I can kind of go character by character.
Okay.
So the black guy is Mandrake. He's so because the story is set in the early 1950s, pretty much all of these characters are in some way connected to the Second World War. So a lot of the all the kind of regular human characters are all veterans. And Mandrake was you guys know Creature Commandos and all that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So the idea is Mandrake had his own kind of Creature Commandos type team, and he was the leader of it. And so the Second World War ends, and he loses all his monster buddies who go back into like the they're supposedly U.S. Army property, but they will get set free after the Second World War. And he kind of clings to his identity as a soldier, and so he becomes this not quite as grim as the Punisher, but he becomes that type of character. But he still does like covert missions for the army when they need him, that kind of thing.
So does he have superpowers, or is he the brilliant strategist for the group?
He's the strategist type of
Okay.
hero. Yeah. And then so I'm going to explain two characters, which is the female superhero and the guy who looks a little bit like Batman. These are a husband and wife team of again, no superpowers for them. But yeah, they're a husband and wife team. The guy is a kind of British Bruce Wayne. He's aerospace tycoon, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Moves over to the United States after the war ends. Builds a name for himself, and obviously keeps the two identities separate. And his wife was so during the Second World War, he was a kind of like a brilliant spy, like if James Bond was Batman, that kind of thing.
Okay. That sounds cool.
Yeah, and so during the war, he meets his wife, who's an American, and after the war, they kind of, they keep it going. They keep his spy persona going, and yeah, I have a lot of cool things done. If you actually go to my Substack, which is just type in Unbreakable Argonauts on Substack, he has a short 6-page short story up that's I'm hoping I'll be able to keep going, kind of serialized format. And the gorilla is Aurelius. And so I don't include this in the first issue because it's kind of like background lore that I want to develop in future comics. I really like the idea of like the crazy science experiments, and so my idea is that during the Second World War, the US experimented on a bunch of animals to try and see if they could boost their intelligence levels. And Aurelius is one of those characters, and he has an evil opposite. So it's Aurelius is the good gorilla, and Gigantor is the evil gorilla. And the kind of thinking of it is Aurelius really identifies with and wants to protect humanity, whereas Gigantor is like really bitter that he was he was like given this intelligence that he didn't really want. He kind of liked his life as as like a simple gorilla. And so he's like the the thoughtful brains behind the team.
Okay.
And so if you go back to the Rocketeer kind of guy, he's kind of like a Hal Jordan sort of superhero, a former test pilot, and his last assignment was to test this special flight suit. But then as the age of the jet engine comes in, the the US Air Force is like, we don't really need this kind of like one man rickety engine strapped to the back. We don't really need that. We want to pursue the fighter jet. And so on his last day, he steals the suit, but it's it's a highly classified thing, so there's not a lot of people to go out and rat on him to the media or anything. Phantasmo is a pretty interesting character. So one of the ideas that I have is that there was an old kind of Victorian team of vigilantes, a little bit like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but not quite the same. And he was part of that team. He was actually murdered. But he doesn't know who did it, and as a kind of vengeful spirit, he comes back, and he can like possess machinery, and he can possess people who are a bit weak-minded and that kind of thing. So he's a really fun addition to the team. And then right at the back, you have Thunderman, which is a archaeologist by day, and during the Second World War, he goes on a secret mission because like during the Second World War, both sides were really interested in the occult.
Mm-hmm.
Like going out and like the story is that like the Nazis were after like the Spear of Destiny and that kind of thing.
Right. Yep.
And he goes to ancient Egypt where he finds an amulet, and he takes the amulet, and it transforms him into this champion of the ancient Egyptian gods. And but only 3 of them. I think it's I have to get back to my notes. I think it's Osiris, Horus, and Ra that he's the champion of. And so like if someone can steal his amulet, they take the power, and they become like depending on whether they're good or evil, they can become like a good version of the champion, or they can become like a corrupted and evil version.
So he obviously guards that amulet pretty fiercely.
Yeah. And together they all kind of meet during around 1949, and that's when the team is formed, and they protect their city from all kinds of evil threats.
Now I see that this is the Rich Parada Villains cover.
Yep. I love
Looks
this
like
one.
I love some iconic villains here.
Yeah, I really love the colors on this one as well. I think the colorist for the book is a guy named Russell Vincent Yu, and you don't realize how much heavy lifting the colorist does until you actually make the comic, and you see like the black and whites come in, and then you see the colors come in, and it's just night and day for some pages.
Now you talked about Gigantor already. I can see that that's who this is here. Who is the skeleton dude with the cowl?
So that's if you look down the bottom right, there's a alien scientist. That's Dr. Venus, and he's a Venusian scientist who crash landed on Earth, and he's basically stuck here, and he just does all kinds of crazy experiments. And he's like the old saying that if a species had or if a civilization had enough scientific if their science was developed enough, then to us it would look like magic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so he does these experiments on like the dead, and he reanimates this guy, which is a Green Ghost, and he's basically trapped in this kind of green flamey form because Venus figured out how to reanimate the dead, but he doesn't know how to make them look like humans again.
Oh, okay.
So he's just trapped like this, which I thought was a cool idea, and I love how it looks on the page.
So he's bitter.
Yeah. He's like, I can't have a normal life, so I might as well be a criminal.
I was gonna say, I'll be a super villain. That'll be fun. And how about this guy in the middle here with the eye patch? So
in the middle we have Major Morozov, who's like a classic Russian bad guy. He's who would I compare him to? He's basically like the worst of the worst when it comes to like special forces commanders, where he's like so messed up that the Russians don't really want him operating in Russia, so they just send him out into the world, and they're like, go cause some mayhem for the West. And,
challenge accepted.
So he's like the team leader and the team fundraiser of the villains.
Okay. Now, is this scene up here both Gigantor and Aurelius?
Yep.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I was seeing one of them move across the panel or if it was both of them. I see what we're talking about now.
Yeah, no, when you if you order a copy of the comic, when you see it, this scene makes perfect sense, and it's a really good kind of introduction to the difference between the two characters.
Okay.
Is there like a? I'm not sure how FundMyComic does it. Do they have like a? What do they call that? Like a time limit? Like the first 30 days, first 60 days? Like when did this book launch?
So the comic actually funded on. We completely fund. We met our goal over on Indiegogo in. I think it was July that I closed the campaign out on Indiegogo. Might have been August.
Oh, it's like a second chance kind of storefront.
Yeah, this is so the comic's complete. I'm actually getting the physical copies tomorrow. And
so Pete, on FundMyComic, you can have an indefinite campaign called a storefront.
Yeah.
You can do a 30-day, 60-day campaign like you were alluding to, but there is an option on FundMyComic to just have a storefront as long as you have the physical inventory to fulfill. You can keep this open.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the guys who run FundMyComic are pretty cool. So like, if you hit the time limit of your campaign, but you get in touch with them, they can extend it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just I mean, it depends on how short you are of your goal, I guess. But that's the nice thing about FundMyComic that the other two don't do, because I think the maximum you can do it on Indiegogo is like 60 days, and I think Kickstarter it might be 60 days, it might be 45 days, I'm not sure. But yeah, FundMyComic will let you extend it if you need to. So
let's go ahead and talk about the tiers then. We have, or it's called rewards here on FundMyComic. For example, this one here, the Unbreakable Argonauts #1, the Paquette cover. That's the one we were looking at when we were talking about the cover, the characters. What does €15 equal roughly in US dollars? Do you know?
I think it's about $17.
17? See, that's a great price point right there. How many pages did you say this was?
The main story is 32 pages, and you also get a 7-page black and white backup story in the back.
Okay, so close to 40 pages then. That's pretty good for $17.
Yeah.
So that issue is available. The Rich Parada Villains cover is available for the same price, plus shipping. So will the shipping come from you in Ireland, or will it come from someone here in the States?
I'll ship it out from Ireland. It's flat shipping. It's about $10 to anywhere in the world.
Okay, that's reasonable. That's about what it costs for most campaigns. For, let's see, if 15 equals 17, 25 is close to 28 or 29 US dollars. Is that about right?
I think it's 28, yeah.
So then you get both the heroes and the villains. Now in these pictures here, there's no cover dress. Will they be Virgin variants like this, or will we have the Unbreakable Argonauts logo on here with the issue number, etc.?
Yep, they have a title logo, and they have a little Argonauts. What do you call it? A logo, but like a little character.
Like a corner logo up here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny. I'm not sure if I'm in the majority or the minority, but I prefer it when the title is on the cover and has, like the corner logo and things like that. It makes it look more like a comic book to me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We had we had one cover on the Indiegogo campaign that was a Virgin cover, and that's a really sweet cover. It's I think we only sold about 5 copies of that though. Most people prefer the Paquette.
Is this a giant size one? Is the same thing as the Indiegogo?
So the original campaign was, I was hoping that I'd be able to do 64 pages, but the goal that we needed for that was just, I think, too big for a first campaign. And so I got in touch with all the backers and I said, we're going to trim it down. So it's going to be, instead of one 64-pager, it's going to be 2 32 pages. And so we ended up doing it that way instead.
Okay,
cool.
That made it more manageable, sure, as far as, getting fulfilled. I see you have a digital copy. That's good. Not everyone wants to pay for shipping, or sometimes people, particularly, I think, Pete's been talking about it. He likes to have his comics mobile, and he can take it with him.
Yeah, I do like it when they have a good like a digital option on there. Although I've been thinking about another way to do digital that you don't have to worry. Like if you had a digital, just a couple of, like let's say you don't know anything about a creator or anything about the story, just a teaser, right? Like a 5-page teaser for like $2 or something, just so that you can check it out and kind of see, what you're gonna get. That'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah,
it's not a bad idea. Let's see what we have for €5 here. Just to give additional funding to help you out, make this a thing. In exchange, we deliver free comic strips. Oh, okay. And then, what's this?
So this is a poster that I commissioned from Rich, and you can probably find it if you just type poster into my Twitter post history. And yeah, it's a really sweet cover. It's not cover, really sweet poster. It's basically all the characters that I currently have in the universe up in on place, even some characters who haven't appeared in print yet.
Very nice. And there's only one of those because it's the original pencils. Okay. Rich Parada is a friend of the channel. I've talked to him a number of times, so it's cool to see him on your project.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Let's see here. Original artwork, interior pages. I was going to ask you how many. You got 7 of those available?
Yeah, these are for the backup in the back of the comic.
Okay. And then the cover pencils for the villain cover.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. And this is what you were talking about, how different it looks in black and white versus the color version that we saw up above.
Yeah, both are great, but you definitely see the, like I said, you just see how much the colorist brings to the project.
I recently learned about this right here, this 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, does 2 change anything for us?
I don't think I have anything on that.
No? Okay. Yeah, there's some people whose reward levels exceed the page, and you've got to hit 2 to go see what other rewards there are. That's new to me anyway. I haven't seen that happen before, so it was interesting to see that in a recent campaign I was looking at.
I think there's a setting you can do when you do it where you can enable, I think it's called pagination. And that just tightens it up so you don't just have like this really long scroll on the side.
Do you know what the average shipping would be for like over to America? I was trying to look at it a second ago, but it wasn't giving me the shipping.
It's $10 worldwide for this one.
Okay, $10. Man, I wish we had prices like that.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of crazy
to get out of America.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like I've seen some of the campaigns from the States, and you guys, it's like four times as much. And I've actually shipped to some people in the States from here where they'll say, like, wow, this reached me before something that I ordered from California reached me.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. So in addition to the time for shipping, those people who are charging you like 4 times as much to go overseas, they are not gouging you. In one of my campaigns, I learned the hard way that sending something even to Canada costs a ton of money. It's like I'll just drive it over there. I'm close to Canada. I'll just take it myself.
Yeah, I wonder how hard that would be. I could mail stuff to my brother. He lives right next to Canada. You could just drive it over and mail it from like a Canadian mailbox.
There you go. Yeah.
I wonder if that'd be cheaper.
It's funny you say that though, because I don't know if you guys know the situation between like the UK and Ireland. Because it's 2 islands that are just right next to each other, we have a common travel area, so it's insanely cheap to fly from one to the other. So I can fly from Ireland to the UK for about 20 euro, which is like $25.
Are you serious? That's crazy.
And so, like, theoretically, if you had a big enough package, it would just be cheaper to fly it over than to ship it.
Right. Oh my gosh. That's very cool, actually. We're getting close to the top of the hour, and I told Ashley that we would take a moment to look at his other campaign as well. So I'm going to shrink this one. Let's see. Yep. And then I'm going to go over to, hey, look who's here. How long have you been waiting, Fanta?
Oh, for a little bit. It's all right.
I'm sorry. I was looking at his
Hey,
campaign.
Fanta.
Didn't see that you were here. Welcome to the
That's
show.
okay.
Hope you had a great time over with the Good Stuffs, getting their cookbook out there.
They funded.
They funded already.
In
Awesome.
2 hours. Yeah, like
Excellent.
2.5 hours. Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
It's great.
So, Fanta, we've been looking at Ashley's storefront on FundMyComic for Unbreakable Argonauts, but he also told me that he's got an Indiegogo campaign. So I'm going to share a screen for that one. And this one looks kind of crazy.
Hey.
This is Santa's Nuclear Winter Special.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And, you know, given the timing, the fact that we're in October, yeah, I know Halloween, blah, blah, blah. But in order to get this out to people by Christmas, he had to start a little early. We talked about that before we went live. It looks like there's a trailer for this one. Do you want me to go ahead and hit that, Ashley?
Is that South Park? Yep. Those are South Park characters.
Maybe.
All right. Hang on, Pete.
Maybe.
Chris Kringle. I saw that. I love that with all of that going on with Carol of the Bells playing in the background. So yeah, tell us a bit about this one, Ashley.
Yeah, so I'm a really big fan of zombie movies, post-apocalyptic movies, and obviously Santa Claus. And this, like we talked about Maladaptive Daydreaming before. The way that this sort of came together was I had a very slow Sunday one day and put on The Big Lebowski. The film ends and I just randomly start thinking to myself, wouldn't it be funny if the dude was Santa? And that kind of like spiraled from that kind of basic idea into what if the dude was Santa and there were zombies? And then I just kept like building on it, and I came up with this story. And it's kind of a combination of like the way I think of it is it's a combination of if Santa existed in Frank Miller's Sin City universe, and he merged with Escape from New York. And so like the story is that in the 1990s, instead of Soviet Union falling, tensions just keep escalating between the US and Russia, and the outcome is just like all-out nuclear war. And it's so devastating that basically the whole population is just completely wiped out, and the fallout from the nuclear war drags the world into this seemingly endless winter. And the only place, and you've got like radiation, you've got biological weapons and everything, and so the zombies start coming up, of course. And the only safe place left in the world is Antarctica, because there's a whole ocean between it, and it's so hard to get to. And so that's where the kind of last remnants of human civilization are. And Santa's, he's got superpowers, obviously, because he's Santa. And so he's the guy who goes back and forth between Antarctica and the rest of the world, finding and saving the last kids who are left alive on his nice list, and bringing them, getting them out of harm's way and getting them back to Antarctica.
That's crazy, which is why I think it'll work.
So,
I'll bet. Yeah, no doubt. So let's take a real quick look at the reward tiers, and here it's called a perk because this is on Indiegogo. You've got this one here shows us both the 15 euro and the 17 US dollars. So let's see. I'm sorry if you said the page number. I don't recall.
40
How many
pages.
pages is this?
40.
40. Oh, right here. Yep, 40 pages of story. Okay, so for $17, that's a very good price point. Digital copy for $9. Okay. Black, white, and red. Okay, that's cool. That's almost like Frank Miller-esque. Ad space in the comic?
Yep, a whole page.
A whole page for $28.
Wow.
And when is this going to be released?
It'll probably, if we fund, it'll probably go out, I'd say next February at the latest.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Then we've got the Slade bundle. You get the regular cover plus the black, white, and red cover for $33. A page of original art from Rich Parada, right? He's doing the interior art.
He's doing the interior art and he did the cover as well.
Okay. So that's a steal for Rich's work for $83. Get Zombified. So it's like a drawn-in tier, right? Where you become one of the zombies?
And we also have a victim one right below. And the thinking here is that if there are like couples out there who want to get one of them drawn in as the zombie and the other one drawn in as the victim, I thought that'd be pretty cool.
I like it. I like it. I know which one I would be. A custom commission. Tell me about this one. What does this get us?
So this is just a regular old commission. So if you back this tier, then you get in touch with me or you get in touch with Rich, and you'll get a page of original penciled art as well as whatever you commission. You get that as a high-res image as well. Okay.
And then original cover art from Rich at $221. Customized cover and art. Wow, he's really making himself available here. That's very cool. I see that there's only 3, so he's not stretching himself too thin, but I like this as a part of the campaign. He's really showing his dedication to making this campaign work. I like it.
Yeah, we talked over the perks, before, just to make sure that I wasn't asking too much of him, and
okay,
wanted to make sure the prices were all fair for him and everything like that.
All right.
That last one I think is actually a pretty cool perk. So what you get there is like a commission. You basically get to pick your own one-of-a-kind cover. And so let's say you want like a family member drawn in as Santa or something like that. We'll print you off your very own copy of the comic with that cover, and you'll also get the original artwork shipped out to you as well.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So that commission there, it's not like I'm commissioning him to do a cover for one of my comics. It would be a cover for your comic, but in the style that I want to see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
And you'll be the only one who owns that.
That's unique. I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, we touched on the daydreaming at the beginning. It sounds like your daydreaming has come up with some very cool stories here, particularly the Santa's Nuclear Winter Special. It came out of a daydream like that.
That's why I had to defend it.
That's right. Very good. Glad you chose that side. So, Santa, again, sorry for making you wait. Thank you for showing up here and being a part of the show here at the end. I want to thank you for being up at 3 o'clock in the morning to join us here on Incendiary to debate Maladaptive Daydreaming, to talk about your Unbreakable Argonauts storefront and Santa's Nuclear Winter Special. Appreciate your time. Hope to get a lot of eyes on your project, and really wish you the best of luck in your creating comic books. Thanks to my co-hosts. And for those of you who are Incendiary fans, next week we're going to have Frank Zanka on. He is from Destiny Horizons Comics, and we'll be talking about their comic, Lords of L.A. And our topic, for those of you who want to know ahead of time, is going to be vampire, werewolf, witch, or slayer. Which of those would you prefer to be? So join us. And on Incendiary for that topic. And he's already got the wheels turning. I can see it.
What kind of swag?